give a warm welcome to the hosts of the Bride of Alternate Ending.
Hello, ghouls and goblins, and welcome back to Bride of Alternate Ending. I'm Brennan Klein, and with me, as always, is Tim Brayton. Hello, Tim. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Brennan. How are you doing?
I am doing exactly fine.
I think that is better than doing badly. So
Yeah, no,
win.
I totally agree. And we're recording this in the morning, so it is not yet nearly 100 degrees, so it's very exciting for me.
It is so horrible to me that you just said that it just, like, recharges my belief that the only sane place in the world to live is the Midwestern United States. But that's a different conversation.
That doesn't seem right to me, because the way you have described the humidity and the winters of where you live seems...
Well, the winters are good. I like the winters.
Okay.
They toughen you up. They give you moral fiber.
Okay. But also... Okay, we're literally just talking about weather, but also aren't your summers, like, kind of bad?
Our summers aren't great, but 100-degree days are few and far between.
To be fair, that is the case here. We are in what apparently, according to the news, is called a heat dome right now, which sounds more exciting than it is.
It sounds like something out of a sci-fi, like the aliens have launched a heat dome attack or something.
Yeah, they have. It's bad. We're not liking it. I've cut off all the sleeves of my t-shirts. Anyway, oh my god. So I did sweat through a shirt while watching the movie Fall. And that was 50% the heat and 50% holy shit, that movie just keeps pointing the camera 2,000 feet down to the ground, and it was a wild ride. It was not a perfect movie, but it was thrilling to me.
I mean, that is the only thing we need thrillers to be, so I'm glad to hear that was the case.
Yeah, exactly. I recommend it. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to kick off Dinosaur Month as recommended by, demanded by our Patreon Oscar-level patron, John Zilla, whose name is appropriate. Clearly, dinosaurs are on the brain. We are starting with the 1993 rushed into production to compete with Jurassic Park Roger Corman production, Carnosaur.
A film that I have been aware of since 1993, have never quite found the excuse to watch. This finally did it. So it does feel like this was a sort of major life event for me to have finally come to grips with this. It's probably not the first mockbuster, like I can't imagine that would be true, but it is certainly one of the holy and sacred texts of the mockbuster, in terms of before, like, The Asylum was even a glimmer in somebody's eye. You have Roger Corman be like, there is this movie that is doing so much work advertising dinosaurs. All I need is to get a dinosaur movie briefly in theaters and then out to VHS sometime in the same general neighborhood as that movie. And by God, it worked.
Did it? Like, so do you have a kind of reference point for the success of Carnosaur?
It turned a profit, and for Roger Corman, that is the solitary level of success it needed. I mean, it made like $2 million just in theaters, and it wasn't even really designed to make money in theaters. It was designed to make money on video.
Wow.
So.
What a time. It's hard to imagine going to the theaters to see Carnosaur.
Isn't it just like... It just reeks of direct-to-video energy so hard. Like, when I read all of what I just told you, I was like, no way was this released in theaters. That's a lie.
Yeah.
This is not possible.
Yeah, it like you said, it reeks of DTV, like, from STEM to Clint Howard.
It's so much DTV, and yet it got a, I guess you could say an Oscar qualifying run. I don't know. But it did. You could. Because it technically would have been eligible if it had been at least slightly better.
Yeah, well, I gotta say, I thought I knew what I was getting myself into with Carnosaur.
I agree with what you just said and what you're about to say.
Yeah, if you had given me... Well, because, see, I was not aware of this movie at the time that it came out. For reasons of being a fetus. But I have also had it in my brain for several years. So I've had a lot of time to chew on the idea of what Carnosaur could be. And had I committed every second of those years to really looking at the poster, thinking about the movie, trying to nail down what it could possibly be about, and throwing out the most wild imaginative ideas of it, I would not have gotten within 30 leagues of where Carnosaur is plot-wise.
It's a pretty crazy trip. Although, before we start talking Carnosaur, I do want to just make one observation, make one nod. I know all of you out there in podcast land can only hear our voices. You cannot see our faces. But we are, as we record this, we are on a Zoom call together. And I just want to let all of you know out there that Brennan has made the choice to dress up for today's episode.
Oh, yeah.
Which I found very, very amusing. He is currently wearing a Jurassic Park tank top.
Mm-hmm. Both for reasons of not needing sleeves, but also I had to honor the occasion.
I'm so glad you did. When I saw the logo pop up as we were starting the Zoom meeting, it made my heart sing just
Aww.
the teeniest tiniest bit.
I'm so happy. I think this is the first time. Wow, I'm so glad.
First time that I've noticed your clothes, or first time that's made my heart sing?
The first time that I've made your heart sing, and I will cherish this moment forever.
Well, good.
So yes, Carnosaur. Okay. So there's
I think we're gonna have to tag team on the plot, so why don't you go ahead and get started?
Yeah, well, because there's the plot of it is very, very pedestrian for quite a bit of time before it is extremely not. Although it is laying the groundwork for the extremely not things that are to come.
I can tell you the moment that it became clear to me, oh, something is amiss with this movie. It is a weird, fucked up movie. But we'll get to that moment.
Okay, well, so we open at basically a... we open in this weird chiaroscuro, like, danger room where politicians are trying to figure out where this ex-military scientist has gotten off to. And it turns out she's been working for this food company doing God knows what. Tampering in God's domain.
She has been... So this is a movie in which... It's great that we are at this point about 6 seconds into the film, and I already feel the need to start problematizing and trying to figure out what the hell's going on. This is a movie where we routinely, throughout the film, get large blocks of on-screen text identifying theoretically where we are and who we're talking to. And we get one of these basically accompanying the very first shot in green science-y lettering. It was 1993, so everything was green to communicate computers. And I don't know what your relationship to this text was, Brennan. Did you try to, parse it every time we saw it? Because I started that way.
I did. The first time it came up, I paused and I read everything. And then basically the thing that really caught my eye was, infected cells per 1 million and then a percentage. Mm-hmm. Which, first of all, if you're doing a percentage, the per 1 million is kind of unnecessary.
It's implied, yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's per however much you want it to be of.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the thing that really caught my eye, and that's what I kept track of more than anything else. I was like, all right, I'm going to look at the city name and what kind of viral load we've got going on, and everything else is mush to me.
And it's like a paragraph of text, and they're all held on screen for 2 seconds, so it is simply not possible to read it all. But what did we're getting ahead of the plot a little bit. What did the text mean? So when it talked about the viral load and percentages, did that have a relationship to the narrative content of the film?
It did, in the sense of, well, there's obviously a outbreak element to this film that starts out pretty early on. There's a cold going around,
right?
And it.
What?
What?
Was it meant to be like how many people in the population have caught this disease? Is that what we were meant to be getting?
I think it's the amount of infected cells per 1 million cells.
I mean,
Well,
who sells?
I guess across all the cells of all the people, this is what that is. But also the number would fluctuate between cities. So I guess so I guess it was about how that current location is faring or something.
It baffled me, and I wanted it to make like a nice simple amount of sense, and again, because we're getting like 6 rows of text every time, it never made sense, and I did not pause it ever. I just sort of tried to glean out of it what I could as it was rolling by.
Yeah, emulate the theatrical experience of watching Carnosaur.
Exactly. See it in theaters the way that director Adam Simon, I think is his name.
Uh-huh.
Whoever Roger Corman's cat's paw was for this particular production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, director Adam Simon with Darren Patrick Maloney additional footage.
That's right. But so that is one thing we get this large, just like field of green text that is in theory giving us information, but it becomes information that's very hard to sort of do anything with.
This green field of text is so large that Julie Andrews is running through it singing a song.
That is a good metaphor, thank you. And then the second thing we get, after we've seen this conversation where all of these serious government men are talking about where this scientist went and what they can do to stop her, and can they do anything to stop her, and what is her mad scientific thing going on. We then get the credit sequence, which is set over stock footage of a chicken processing plant with like a Terminator style red tint, and then this also has science text over it. Mm-hmm. And the science text seems to imply that she is crossbreeding different kinds of poultry. So she's creating turduckens.
Yeah,
basically.
It's like the Poultry Genome Project. She's like mapping each of the DNA elements of each kind of fowl.
She's doing that, but then also some of those on-screen titles refer to like she's crossbreeding a chicken and a turkey, or she's crossbreeding a chicken and a I forget what the other bird that I caught was, but like she's definitely like creating hybrid food birds, which is not, I don't think, referenced elsewhere in the film, but it doesn't matter. But it's all, we're getting a ton of stimulation is the point. We're getting a ton of like information in a way that is both hard to read and, if you can figure out what it's saying, irrelevant to the film. And we are at this point a minute into Carnosaur.
Yeah. And the doctor in question is Dr. Jane Tiptree, as played by Diane Ladd. Competing with her daughter, Laura Dern, who is in Jurassic Park.
I don't think there was a competition. I think Mom clearly won this round.
She certainly got more interesting things to do.
We'll get there, but I guess we can start reading into the record right now. I think that Diane Ladd has decided that she is in a film that requires a great deal of her attention, and she's doing character work, and she is trying to figure out motivations that her character can follow across the scenes. She is giving a performance, and it is a worked out, complicated performance, and it is in a movie called Carnosaur, which is about dinosaur puppets.
Yeah, because, so, obviously, Diane Ladd, she's number one on the poster. She exists in this weird, like, Sliver-esque William Baldwin control room where she can, in an unclear location, where she has extremely crystal clear video messaging capabilities in 1993. Mm-hmm. But, so, she's just kind of watching the goings-on of the movie from a lot of angles that should not be possible, including the passenger side window of a truck containing 2 men that she should not know exist. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so it is very clearly like, well, actually, according to the ever trustworthy IMDb trivia, she spent 5 days shooting the movie, which I would be shocked if that was not a gross exaggeration of how long
I
she
mean,
spent on the movie.
the entire film apparently took 18 days to shoot, and I can only think of one of her scenes that involves effects in a way that would cause it to be longer than like 3 minutes.
Yeah, but it's certainly not a long time, and she's in one room for the most part. And that kind of established actor appearing in this shitty movie surrounded by considerably less established cast and crew, I usually expect one of two things. I usually expect, if they are engaged at all, something campy and over the top, like maybe something that like Nicolas Cage will deliver in one of the many direct to Redbox movies he's appeared in over the last 8 years.
Yeah, for me, the sort of the grandmama of that kind of acting is Joan Crawford in Trog.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's something I expect, or I expect them to just coast on the gravity that their career brings to deliver something that is more, it's got more star power, it's got more watchability than is common for anyone else in the cast. But you're right, she's really eschewing those two ways of kind of coasting or having fun and delivering this strangely tempered, measured performance that is quite chilling because it has no reason to be here.
Exactly. It's very strange. You just want to like reach into the screen and be like, Diane, you don't have to do this much work. Like you are not going to be rewarded for the work you are giving by the film you are in. And I was kind of like kidding on the square when I said that clearly she won this face-off with her daughter, in that in Jurassic Park, I think Laura Dern gives one of her very worst performances because she's clearly just like, she's realized the movie she's in, she's realized it cannot break if she's not good in it, and so she just kind of coasts through it and gawks at things. And obviously she's playing a better character with a better script in a better film, so she sort of automatically feels like she's more serious in it. But I do think Diane Latta's doing just an incomparably greater amount of work than Laura Dern did. And not getting a Hawaiian Vacation out of it.
Yeah, what a bummer. And yeah, and the one on-screen actor that she gets to play off of is Raphael Sbarge. So, she's not working with Sam Neill and Richard Attenborough, right? Yeah.
Richard Attenborough.
And that kind of caliber of talent.
Yeah. And Raphael Sbarge is one of those names that when I saw it, I was just like, it feels like two pseudonyms from two different people that have just crashed into each other at high speeds on the freeway.
Yeah. No, not one I'd encountered before, but apparently he was in Pearl Harbor and Independence Day, presumably as random soldiers.
I have to imagine so.
Yeah. I guess while we're talking about the cast, so he plays Doc Smith, who is a drunkard and a lout who I guess might be a doctor, but also works in a construction site that is tearing down a mountain, ?
They're tearing down something. They're tearing down something in a way that has gotten them in trouble with the environmentalists.
Yes, and the leading environmentalist, or at least leading to us, and she's not in charge, but she is a sexy lady named Thrush, because, you gotta catch Thrush.
Hey, I was going to say, what name says sexy lady like Thrush?
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah, she's played by Jennifer Runyon. You may know her from Bill Murray creeping on her during the opening scene of Ghostbusters when he's testing out the ESP skills of various students. She was also in an episode of 90210 and also retired after Carnosaur.
I mean, once you have reached the pinnacle of your art, why would you keep going?
Yeah, exactly. She
imagine she ends up on the set of like, I don't know, some Steven Spielberg movie, like AI or something, and she's like, but I've already been in Carnosaur. Like, what can you teach me, Steven Spielberg?
You're so right. Oh man, yeah. So those are the kind of like three main characters we have bouncing around, but there is a endlessly sprawling ensemble of random goons and workers and whatnot.
There's a surprisingly large cast given Corman's tight-fisted approach to budget and given the 18-day shoot. There's like 40 speaking roles in this movie.
Yeah, something like that. It's very they're really kind of spreading the gamut. I mean, obviously they had to have a lot of material in there to distract from how little Diane Ladd is around. And they just kind of throw whatever out there. And yeah, the idea, like the amount of characters where it's like, I recognize that person, I know what they're up to, even though they're not a character, but like there's at least a dozen other people that have no bearing on the plot. Like the sheriff and his wife and their 2 kids. What the fuck do they do?
What the fuck do they do? Why are they there? What do they add?
Yeah, but we spend at least 2 full scenes with them.
We sure do.
Do they meaningfully interact with anyone else in the movie?
I would have to rewatch it with an eye to that specific question, but I don't believe so.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. What were you saying?
Well, I think what you're failing to appreciate here, obviously, Carnosaur was designed as a mockbuster of Jurassic Park. It was designed to take advantage of the fact that Jurassic Park was coming out. It's like, hey, you want dinosaurs? We got dinosaurs. You want people getting eaten by dinosaurs? We got people getting eaten by dinosaurs. But could it not also be the case that in its sort of amorphous structure, where it's just kind of throwing character after character at us and hoping that we just kind of appreciate the parade of humanity and just all that sort of disconnected messiness, could it not also be trying to cash in on the success of fellow 1993 release Shortcuts by Robert Altman?
Oh, assuredly so.
I mean,
it's
Corman had his finger on the pulse. That's all I'm saying.
Influences are far and wide. And mini hint at a spoiler alert. They also they did watch Alien before this movie.
They sure did.
But yeah, we haven't really even talked about the plot. So after the bizarre chicken DNA opening sequence, we see some people making a delivery of chickens outside or from this poultry farm factory situation. One of the eggs that is included looks a little bit bigger than the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And a little baby, it looks like a raptor most of the time.
It's
but
a little baby Carnosaur.
Yeah, it's a Carnosaur, baby. It's kind of like
Wikipedia informs us it's a Deinonychus. I don't know on what authority Wikipedia has come to that conclusion.
Sure. I mean, I do not pretend to be a dinosaur expert. By the end, it's pretty T-Rex-esque, but for the most part, it operates like the raptors do in Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so this little baby Carnosaur, he devours all the chickens. Does he devour the people delivering the chickens, or is that later?
He kills them. Oh, no, because the first thing he does is he jumps at the guy's face.
Yeah, he slashes him, and then they get killed later. He slashes his face.
They get killed later.
But so he kind of runs out into the night, into this deserty kind of... Frankly, I did not... The movie told us multiple times, but I did not quite catch where they were. I think it's New Mexico, somewhere southwest.
I mean, it was so transparently shot in, like, the closest to L.A. you can be while not being visibly in L.A. that I just sort of overrode wherever it said it was taking place.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It is definitely the scrub of Santa Clarita, meant to be wherever the fuck.
Right.
Presumably the same scrub where they shot every 50s sci-fi movie where they're like, an alien's in that cave.
Presumably.
Yeah. But okay, so the Carnosaur's running around, occasionally killing people. It's cute. He's got, by the time he grows up, the kind of main form of the Carnosaur that we're seeing, it's a very chunky kind of suit.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of flaps and folds, but there's some fun brief glimpses of, like, when he's attacking people, it's basically like really quick kind of shaky cam, quick cut editing, lots of Carnovision.
Carnovision is green tinted, by the way, because again, it's 1983.
Yeah, because the Carnosaur is green.
Exactly.
And you know how everything that you see is the same color as your skin? That's just how it works with the Carnosaur too. But yeah, so lots of that, but then there will be these quick cuts of some pretty solid John Carl Buechler gore in there, because this indeed was who was in charge of the effects.
He did both the gore and the dinosaur effects, and not his finest hour, to be sure, but I think he has absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. I think he did some really, really cool stuff. I like the dinosaurs, which range from, as you said, suits to miniature robotic models to literal hand puppets. Do I believe there is a dinosaur running amok on the streets of whatever not Santa Clarita this is? I don't. But I do believe that the puppets are fun. And that is the thing that is important for me to believe.
Yes, the puppets are fun, and once you get past, like, let's say the opening third of the movie, you do get to see the puppets.
You do. Yeah, they play the Jaws. Actually, I'd say, see, this is why this is a better film than Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is just like, you want dinosaurs, here's dinosaurs. Carnosaur recognizes, well, if we tease you, if we make you wait for the dinosaurs, you'll be more excited to see them when they finally show up.
Of course. The look of pride on your face for spouting this nonsense so confidently.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But yeah, so I mean, it gives you a bunch, like, the dinosaur's not great, but it gives you a bunch of the not great dinosaur, which is better than no dinosaur at all.
This is something that is, again, Corman's old school B-movie producer. He was one of those people in the 50s making films about, ooh, there's an alien in the cave.
Mm-hmm.
He gets that once you've built the suit or once you've built the puppet or whatnot, it's free to put it in front of the camera. So just sock it to us, baby. Mm-hmm. And so we do get a pretty substantial amount of rubber dinosaur action.
Which, I appreciate. It's not great, by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly
it's affable.
Yeah, it's pleasant and charming to just watch the dinosaur tear through some people. It's
exactly, and there are, in addition to the dinosaur effects, as you mentioned, there are gore effects, and I think they were pretty squishy. I liked them. We see stumps of legs. We see a hand getting cut off by a laser grid at one point.
Oh yeah, that also happened in this movie. Oh my god, we'll get to all of that. But yeah, also a guy gets his whole face chomped on.
His face chomped on.
Yeah, that, like, pretty much anything that happens to a human body, of which I would say there is we get considerably less looks at that kind of gore than we do at the dinosaur tromping around.
For sure.
But anytime we do, solid stuff.
Yep. I would say we certainly get more human-related gore in this film than in Jurassic Park, where it's reduced to Samuel L. Jackson's arm, basically, which is another one of the reasons that Carnosaur is a better film than Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And Clint Howard was not in Jurassic Park.
He sure was not, and he sure is in this.
I worry about him. I mean, he's constantly getting work, so good on him.
I do not worry about Clint Howard. I think Clint Howard is living the life. I wish I was Clint Howard.
Yeah, I just the choices that he makes are frequently very startling in characters that aren't meant to be necessarily.
He's having a good time.
Yeah. This character is very much like his character from Silent Night, Deadly Nights 4 and 5. I believe maybe 3 and 4. Whatever. He's in a couple of those.
Whichever brace of Silent Night, Deadly Nights he's in.
Yeah. Oh, never mind. Doesn't matter. But he's just kind of this creepy dude who pops up in the corner of those movies every now and then, and he's playing that as a chicken delivery man or whatever, factory worker, whatever the fuck he's meant to be doing. He's in also in 2 scenes like everyone.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm gonna bat this plot ball over to you because I've lost the thread.
So we're as far as they have. There was a truck and had chickens in it, and then one of the chickens hatched. Is that where we were at? I've lost the thread as well.
Yeah, well, dinosaurs roaming around, biting people.
Dinosaurs roaming around, biting people, and that gets us through a bit of the film. And sort of the middle part of the movie, maybe a little bit less than the exact middle third of the film, but it's mostly just kind of an investigation to what's going on. Why are all these people dying? Initially, it's not clear that it is dinosaurs. It could just be some sort of other wild creature. But they determine, and they hear as a sort of whomever we need it to be, because again, very few characters exist for more than 2 or 3 scenes. They figure out that it is, these dinosaurs, and they have to start figuring out where these dinosaurs are coming from, and that's where we get to the part where Carnosaur is just special, and just so strange. And I will say, the scene to me where I realized that we were up for a more than normally weird bad movie was the scene where is it the sheriff who has the egg? Someone drops an egg. Someone's cracking an egg.
Yes, that's the sheriff.
And the egg is full of green goo. And he freaks out, as one would. That's not the scene. That was the scene I was ready for. The next time we see him, I don't think there's a transitional scene, and correct me if I'm wrong here. The next time we see him, he already has, like, a baby Carnosaur. Like, the green goo has turned into a Carnosaur that is growing at an alarming rate, and he and a scientist are looking at it under a microscope.
Yes, so the first egg turns into goo. The second one, he kind of like drops on the ground, and it seems like the Carnosaur either congealed from the goo or popped out of the egg.
It is one of those two things, yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that is the same moment.
Yes. So that is to me where it became clear, like something is wild with this movie. was the specifically the scene of him looking at the dinosaur through the microscope.
Absolutely.
Or whatever it was.
And then the movie really just cannot help itself but to ramp it up in every single subsequent moment.
Exactly. So you see, you may have recalled, we touched on this, something is causing a viral load. It's a percentage of parts per million. And people are getting the cold. But it's not just the cold. It's a sort of... Was it clear to you, was this a deliberate cold, or was it a byproduct of a lab accident?
No, it was deliberate. Okay, I'm going to draw the veil. We're fully spoiling Carnosaur from here on out. So if we've intrigued you at all, go check it out. It's on YouTube. Because Dr. Jane Tiptree, when she meets Doc Smith, he has the sickness as well, and she's like, "Oh, you have the fever," and you can hear the capital letters of
you
the
for
fever.
Sure can, 100%.
Mm-hmm. But she says, "I designed it." So yeah, it is an intentional.
It is an intentional. Okay, good. I must have been so bowled over by the way that Diane Ladd pronounced the capital T and the capital F. I missed the next line of dialogue. But yes, so she has engineered a plague. And you know what this plague does? It doesn't just give you the sniffles. It doesn't make you feel unwell. It doesn't even kill you. Are we going for it?
Yeah.
This plague impregnates you with a dinosaur baby in your body.
Mm-hmm. But only if you're a woman.
Oh, well, because boys can't have babies, Brennan. You've surely forgotten the Arnold Schwarzenegger classic Jr., where we learned this fact.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like I am just as viable to have my guts turned into a dinosaur, because that's what's happening. It's not like a fetal embryo process. It is a virus that turns your cells into a dinosaur that then pops out of you and kills you, like a chest burster.
Basically, yes, it is. It's wild.
It is. Yeah, I really think that movies should not be reviewed in terms of their incident. Like, I hate it when people are like, "Oh, it's a movie about Abraham Lincoln killing vampires. How could it be bad? Or how could it not be fun?" It's like, well, there's plenty of ways for it not to be fun. It's all about tone and execution. But when the incident is Diane Ladd uses a chicken virus to turn women's guts into dinosaurs, that's a pretty solid bit of incident.
It takes a lot more to fuck up certain concepts than others.
Yes.
Shall we say. And here's the thing. So it is known to the readership of Alternate Ending, I think. I have a real big man crush on Roger Corman. I think that he is a filmmaker who has, throughout his incredibly long career, he is still with us at 96 years of age. His thing is to make cheap, dumb movies, but to make cheap, dumb movies well. Mm-hmm. And I think Carnosaur fits into that. Like, it is a movie that is going to take this squirrely-ass concept and it's going to run with it. It is not using plague of infected eggs causes people to become pregnant with dinosaurs. It's not just using that as a pretext to get us to dinosaurs. It is going to seriously ponder what are the ramifications of a plague that makes women have dinosaur babies.
Yeah, no, there is this bizarre scene where there's kind of a government site set up where they're discussing what to do with this, and they're basically inventing Gilead from The Handmaid's Tale while this dinosaur plague is going on. And it's just, again, not in a million years, not in 65 million years would I have guessed that this is what this movie is about.
I could have gotten pretty quickly to the point of Diane Ladd as a mad scientist trying to bring dinosaurs back. It would have taken me a lot of tries to get to the mechanism she was using to do so.
Yes, and the beatific joy on her face when she's describing the world that she is creating, a world of peaceful beings, ? And purest creativity, ? That I guess is dinosaurs.
It is,
but you buy it because it's coming from her.
Because it's coming from her, and again, she's doing so much character work in this movie, and she's so clearly invested in, like, what would it be like to be someone who would have this messianic relationship to the dinosaur Eden that she is trying to create by having dinosaurs explode out of women's tummies.
Yeah, and of course, she is a noble scientist. She also sacrifices herself to this cause, and the kind of mixture of horror and satisfaction that is happening when she is giving birth to a dinosaur chest burster is really chilling.
It's fucking incredible. It's so weird. And, like, I don't know if it's Adam Simon or Diane Ladd's character who seems confused on this point, or maybe it's me who's confused on this point. I don't know. Did you get the impression that the film was trying to sell us on the idea that dinosaurs... Well, it's obviously selling us on the idea that dinosaurs are the rightful inhabitants of the Earth, or at least that's what her character believes. But that they were driven to extinction by human mismanagement of the environment.
I don't think the line is directly drawn, but they definitely... Well, nobody... Okay.
Because there's the whole thing with the environmentalists. I mean, again, it's not like the film is saying in dialogue, this is what happened. It's more just like, it feels like there's this idea of dinosaurs are the correct stewards of nature, and we have stood in their way for too long.
Yeah. Because... Also, wild thing. Jennifer Runyon's character is talking to Doc, and she's like, "This whole valley used to be a migration path for dinosaurs, and now you're gonna tear it down." And also, she and her eco-terrorist friends are mounting their protest by chaining themselves to the construction equipment in the middle of the night. No one was gonna use it.
Yep.
So I mean, they're idiots. So maybe they do genuinely think that.
This is what I'm saying. Again, it's not clear to me that the movie thinks these things, but I feel like the characters do. I don't know. It's weird and wild.
They seem to. And I don't think this movie thinks it's better than its characters, so I bet the movie also believes it.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe the movie believes it for the duration of being a movie. It doesn't, like... Maybe Adam Simon doesn't truly believe these things are true, but he believes them for the purpose of telling the story of Carnosaur.
Yeah, I'm not saying that auteur Adam Simon believes in this, but the Carnosaur does.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, it's just fascinating. Can we talk about the ending?
Let's not talk about the ending yet, because there's one other scene that I really want to talk about.
Okay, great.
Which is, I'm trying to remember which character it is. Who gets caught in the laser pen?
Oh yeah, isn't that
is
like
that
the
Jesse?
senator that isn't that the senator they were feeding blueberries to?
Just hearing you say that out loud is like, what is this movie?
Yeah, well, he definitely gets put down there, but that might not be who you're talking about. But he's the one who gets his hand cut off.
He's the one who gets his hand cut off? Okay.
Yeah, because they're feeding him blueberries that are coated in goat placenta to last
That's
longer.
right. That's right.
And then he gets in an elevator, and suddenly Diane Ladd is talking to him about his dead daughter, and I'm like, okay, I don't remember this being part of his backstory.
Well, I am less concerned with who he is than where he goes, because there is a set. I don't really know how. It feels like that word is making promises that are not borne out by the actual thing we see on screen. But there is, it is the place, you know, we've had throughout the film, I think this is what's going on. We've had throughout the film this one Carnosaur loose in the world.
Yes.
But we now discover that there are Carnosaurs that Diane Ladd has already sort of like raised up and has in her like lair. Mm-hmm. And so she has this room where she keeps a fully grown Carnosaur. And that room consists of like that strobing fan effect thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like a giant spinning X of light, like casting beams into the space. And then like the walls are made of laser beams. Is that an appropriate description of this environment?
Yes, and it is accessed by one of those hallways of pipes that you see in a lot of
hallway of pipes for sure. And so we get this like character POV basically of the Carnosaur sort of like rising into the path of the X spinning light, and it felt like for like all of a sudden it had become the parallax view to me. Like it was just this completely physically detached space defined solely by lighting and sort of implication, and it was honestly to me a very striking moment. It was like, I am now dissociating. The movie has caused me to have some sort of mental break, and I am now just seeing inexplicable nightmare imagery of dinosaurs. And of course, yes, that does then end with this character in his attempts to escape, thrusting his hand through the laser fence, and it gets chopped off, and then he gets bitten by the Carnosaur and pulled away, and there's this wonderful image where we see his like wrist pulled back from his hand, which has been cut off.
That was pretty cool.
It's good gore moment. Again, John Carl Buechler, he's one of the greats. But I just found that entire location transfixing, even in a film about using a virus to make dinosaur babies. That room was something that just pushed me beyond what I was prepared for.
Yeah, and that's a quality that pretty much that entire complex has, where I imagine it's because they were just shooting in a big warehouse, so they kind of felt the need to define the space using light. Mm-hmm. But like there's this, oh my god, I totally forgot. So the weird businessman who's feeding the super blueberries to the senator, and his assistant, who's played by Rodman Flender, who went on to direct Idle Hands and 1 or 2 Leprechaun films.
All right.
So first of all, forgot to mention, the guy is lying on top of the desk with his feet kicked up in the air like he's in the Girls Just Want to Have Fun music video while watching the senator eat these blueberries. But also, that scene is lit like the archive scene in Citizen Kane. Like, just that really intense overhead light that's almost like an interrogation. And everything around it is swamped in darkness. It's such a bizarre lighting scheme in anything set in this complex. And everything else in the movie, that all of that feels totally separate from what they're doing in the rest of Carnosaur.
Yeah, the movie looks like a movie until they get to the complex, where it becomes this sort of techno-expressionism dreamscape.
Yeah, it's so wild. And I pretty much love everything that has to do with that complex. the rest of the movie, despite some solid dinosaur stuff, pretty mushy and bland and what you expect from a movie called Carnosaur.
I know that is your response because I saw it in your Letterboxd review, and I find that so jaundiced of you, sir. I found the movie to be constantly surprising me with how random it was.
Well, yeah, I'd say, okay, everything kind of comes together probably in the third act of Everything Everywhere is pretty wild. But when it's like, two dudes in a truck driving through the dark and eating chicken.
Two dudes, but I mean, that's the thing, like even that moment, the specific moment you just mentioned, there's that weird cut of they're trying to figure out who's doing all the killing, and they've like traced the DNA on the bite to like a chicken, and they're like, well, so he must have been killed by a giant chicken. And then it cuts to the trucker dude eating a chicken leg, and like, I find that charmingly stupid.
Okay, that is charmingly stupid. I don't know. There was something about the specific tone.
And like,
it felt a little in mothballs for a little bit for me.
I get that. I'm just saying, to me, this is a movie about an eco-terrorist named Thrush, and it is about eggs full of green goo, and it is about that stupid cut to a chicken leg I just described. It is a film that never goes more than a few minutes, to me, without doing something goofy enough that it recharged my interest in the film.
No, that's totally fair. I think it took me longer to get on the film's wavelength. But once I did,
I will say,
there.
I started this movie at like 2 a.m. So
Mm.
I was probably ready for its wavelength from the moment I hit play, which we haven't mentioned yet, but to all of you out there, this movie is free on YouTube. So you should watch it because it's 82 minutes long and 80 of them are wild.
Yeah, and 2 of them are credits. Also, the credits are
The
wild.
credits are wild. They go down. The credits fall down.
Yeah, I've only seen that one other time before, and I can't for the life of me remember what it is. But it's
I
always
think
weird.
THX 1138 does its credits that way.
Okay, well, I haven't seen that, so there must be a third one. But it's a wild choice.
Mm-hmm. The opening credits of The Shining happen that way, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah, there's a couple here and there, but it's still super unusual.
It's super weird.
Because I guess we're turning back the clock, We're going back to prehistoric times.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if it has an excuse or if the excuse is just that it looks fucking weird.
Yeah. But no, you're right. Like, once you get on the film's wavelength, then I guess times will vary. It is an extremely alluring prospect. What I was going to say. So, in that first half that I found less interest in, there was some just really ostentatiously in-your-face kind of outbreak style stuff where it's like, obviously there's a cold going around, but you see someone like sneezing into soup and then handing it to Clint Howard, and just a lot of really gross stuff that shit affects me because I'm a bit of a germaphobe.
Sure.
But yeah,
But I believe at one point I stopped you from wanting to talk about the end of the film.
Yes. So, the ending of this movie, it is an ending that I have seen and enjoyed in multiple horror films that are of a darker, more dour tone, including one I watched recently, but no spoilers. It ends with Doc and Thrush, of course, basically discovering a vaccine for Carnosaur-itis, and then they call in the cavalry. The cavalry shoots them up with a machine gun and then sets the place on fire, thus destroying both of them and humanity's hope for salvation. Mm-hmm. All while we watch a poster of Alfred E. Newman from Mad Magazine burning to a crisp.
The poster of Alfred E. Newman it's a framing device. Because it's almost the very first thing we see in the movie is this poster, and initially it's just like setting a scene, but then at the end it does become, it's like the end of fucking Do the Right Thing, where he tabs up the picture in the middle of this burned out space, and it's like this sense of humanity. You have failed. You have made Alfred E. Newman sad. He judges you.
Yeah, or it's like, or it's like watching again a Citizen Kane, watching Rosebud burn at the end of that movie. It's just like, what hath our hubris wrought upon
Exactly.
this world?
It's like it feels. To me, it felt very much like an image of like a painting of Jesus Christ that's meant to stand in as like as looking sadly that we have not lived up to our potential. And it's just like, and like it's fucking pretty Newman.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause so when they died, I was like, oh, that's a bit dour for this type of movie. But then they cut to that, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it.
This is the exact correct amount of whatever this is for this particular movie.
What, me worry?
Oh yeah, because it also says that. So it's an ironic, because we should be worried about the deadly Carnosaur virus that will kill each and every one of us after having half of us give birth to dinosaur babies.
Yeah, and then it is implied that the surviving men, which is presumably all men because they just have a cold, will then create more women using artificial wombs that they can then Handmaid's Taleify.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Which, to my knowledge, is not what happens in Carnosaur 2 and 3, which I think is a mistake.
I think we need to consider that Carnosaur 2 and 3 right now are in the pole positions for our January sequels to things we have done episodes about.
Yeah,
Paul.
I have heard that Carnosaur 2 is trying to do Aliens and be an action horror sequel.
That makes sense, because this movie is trying to do Alien.
Yeah, so... and also, I was texting you about this. From what I've read, both films use pretty much all the dinosaur footage from this one.
That is my understanding. I believe there are also 2 non-called Carnosaur films that use much of the dinosaur footage from this movie.
Yes, indeed. Which I'd be curious about, because there's not... I mean, I guess it's just, you got footage of a dinosaur running around the desert, you bring people back to the desert. Godzilla did it. He fought Gigan like 3 times in the exact same way.
Yep.
But yeah, so yeah, we gotta give the folks the option. I'm fascinated by this. Carnosaur was really so much more than what I expected or even wanted it to be, and I did have a blast.
I disagree. I mean, I completely agree with what you just said. It is both not the same movie I expected it to be. I'm excited by the movie it is. I'm also more than slightly disturbed and disgusted by the movie it is.
Oh yeah, it's deeply incorrect.
It is.
But in a way that I think appeals to both of our specific sensibilities.
I am excited for this movie in my life, and it is not the last time I will watch it.
Yeah. Watch it with friends, get a Zoom party going.
I mean, it's right there on the YouTube.
Yeah, and both of us, you gave it 2.5 stars, I gave it 2 stars, and I think that's not necessarily the review we've given it here, because I think...
You cannot say this is a good movie.
No.
You are a liar if you say this is a good movie.
Yeah, as a film object, it is one thing, and as an experience, it is an entirely different thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I have to say about Carnosaur.
That's what I have to say. I wouldn't have even remembered to bring up Alfred E. Newman at the end if you hadn't, so I'm glad you did, because that part... At a certain part, I think I was just full up, and like the stimulus I was getting was still delighting me, but it wasn't absorbing into my brain.
Yeah, there's a certain part where you have to tap out.
Exactly.
Oh my god. Yeah, so that is what is going on. You can find more episodes of this podcast, Tim's reviews, my reviews, at alternateending.com. Follow us on all the social stuff. That's all in the fucking show notes. And have you heard the good news? Next time...
What is the good news?
In 2 weeks, we will be concluding Dinosaur Month with 2018's The Velocipaster.
Hallelujah.
Blessed be the fruit. I'm excited for that too. This might be the best month we've had. We'll find out.
I mean, it already has raised up to a level that Velocipaster will have to be shockingly bad for it to not be a pretty good month. So,
Yeah, and I've heard good things from various kind of cult film followers, so fingers crossed on that one.
I've heard nothing at all except the fact that it's called Velocipaster, and even though I have been burned about 10 million times by good titles on bad movies, I never learn. Never ever do.
Because it's like, but what if this is the one, you know?
I mean, every so often, once a generation, you get a Zombieverse, right? You get something that lives up to its ridiculous title, and I'm gonna hold the faith.
Yeah. Yeah. So stay tuned for whatever that's going to be. Neither of us have seen this one, but until next time, watch Carnosaur. Let us know what you think.
For sure, watch Carnosaur.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
She hates me.